Hi, Mrs. Hill.
Hi, Ms. Gershman.
Thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
During this difficult time.
Of course, of course. So, can I call you Jill?
Yeah,
Is that okay? You can call me Abby. Let's go by first name basis.
Sure.
So, really, what we called you here today is we just want to get a deeper dive into the details that we discussed about your marriage during our first initial meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that some aspects might be a little bit difficult to discuss, but we're really trying to get the bigger picture here about what's going on between you and your husband, Jack. We want to be able to shape your story, and that's what our service is for you, to shape your story, to help you out during this process, to guide you through this, and to give you obviously some legal advice. So in order to do that, we are going to have to take that deeper dive. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. That's
all right.
What I'm here for. So.
Of course. And if you have any questions at all today, concerns, anything, please just stop my questioning. We'll get to your concerns. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my secretary told me that you brought those documents that I requested in the email that I sent.
I did.
Yes. Thank you, by the way, for that. We are going to need more documents, but we just want to start building up your file and getting just a bigger picture of, your finances with your husband, your shared assets, just to see where we're heading with all this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you for that.
I did work at a law firm, so I understand how it goes.
You do. No, you're right, Jill. Like, you worked at the law firm and you know how this whole process goes, which is really nice. It's nice. All right, so I guess we'll begin with talking about your marriage, the story of how you guys got married, and so where did you guys get married?
So, funnily enough, we were high school sweethearts.
Okay.
And it was a great relationship, but he went up to college, and we decided to not see each other anymore. I'm sorry. Just a little emotional.
Okay.
Would
you like some tissues or anything?
No, thank you. We, reunited over, I think it was spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son, Fetch.
Okay.
That was, over 10 years ago now. And we decided to get married. At the time, he told me it was what he wanted. Come to find out later, not so much. But otherwise, our marriage was pretty good. I worked at a law firm. I was the receptionist for a while. And I was going to go and get my paralegal certificate, and we were just mainly relying on Jack's income. But I always wanted 3 children, and my husband didn't. Our daughter Crown came as a surprise 3 years ago, and Jack, I don't know where he got this idea that I intentionally got pregnant. At the time, he wanted to go for his master's
mm-hmm.
in mathematics, and obviously couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Had to put that on hold because of our daughter. And so I don't know. He's been having a hard time relating with our daughter, and there's the pregnancy in general put a lot of strain on our marriage, and after it's just things haven't been the same, and we've been counseling, and my anxiety's been through the roof. I'm embarrassed to admit, but I've been hospitalized a couple of times, but I just want to be transparent with you now.
Of course.
And we've been seeing counseling, and I want to continue counseling, but Jack, I think he just wants to be over and done with, get his graduate degree, and move on with his life.
Okay. So, did you guys date for long before you got married?
Yeah, it was a few years.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you were getting your education. You were in the midst of getting an education. Can you elaborate a little bit about your occupation and education before your marriage?
Yes. Well, so right now I just kind of sell Avon on the side, but
okay.
Yeah, I've been working as a receptionist at a law firm, and I never went to college because I got pregnant, and financially we were doing okay, and we always said that I would go back to school later. So I don't have a college degree.
Okay. Okay. And Jack, you said does have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he is, what you said, what's the highest level of education he received?
He has a bachelor's.
Bachelor's. Okay. And he is in the midst of or wanting to get a higher level.
Yeah, so he applied to schools for his master's and
Okay.
was accepted, but he hasn't enrolled. To my knowledge, at least, not yet.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned that you're selling Avon on the side, and I actually saw that in your financial statements that you brought over today before
Mm-hmm.
before we began talking. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into that and how much you make? I know you stated that just now.
Honestly, it was just through a girlfriend.
Okay.
Just for, we've been having issues for a while, so I'm pretty much fully dependent on Jack's income,
Okay.
but I wanted to contribute something, show him, for him to see that I'm trying, in other ways, but also just to have
For your marriage, you're saying?
for the marriage, and also to have that extra cushion, in case he does leave me. I'm not totally penniless. I make, last year made 15,500, so it's not a livable income, but it's something.
Mm-hmm. But according to your financial statements, you're getting some sort of an annuity.
I am.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more,
Yeah.
just so we can understand?
Um, so I think I'm sorry if I'm flip-flopping, but
No, that's
just
okay.
Backstory. When I was 13, I was raped by my soccer coach. I wasn't the only student, but it resulted in a pregnancy that I kept. And, we sued the school, sued the coach, and I got an annuity of $1.5 million. I got it was divided into thirds. So I got the first third, I think I was like 14 or 15 after that case was over. And then 3 years ago, I got another 500,000. And then I'm going to get another 500 in 3 years. But the million is, it's been used up for, Jack's student loans and for our house.
Okay.
And everything for our marriage, cars, I haven't been really working, and I know we've been relying on him, but all of that money I put toward the family, towards education, for everything.
Okay. So you're saying all that money is for marital, like you put into the marriage. Okay.
Yeah.
Like your home and whatnot. Okay. That's quite a gift you're giving your family. So I know this might be a little bit hard to talk about, but you mentioned in our initial interview, and you mentioned today a little bit, how after the birth of your daughter, you struggled with a little bit of depression.
Yeah, I think it honestly started bringing back memories from, my first pregnancy at 13.
Yeah.
Because that was the baby girl that I never met or saw, or I mean, I saw her, but
I understand.
So, yeah, and also when I got pregnant with Jack the first time, we weren't. Listen, I'm a Catholic, and I'm not a fan of birth control, but for Jack, I did it.
Okay.
And so I think he thinks that I purposely got pregnant and didn't want to be on birth control now, and that's so far from the case. What difference would it make now, 10 plus years later?
Okay.
And he just can't seem to shake this conspiracy because I was one third child. And yes, of course I did, but not at the expense of this. I don't care. It just kind of happened. It wasn't an easy pregnancy to begin with.
Right. Right. And going back to your depression that you went through, did you receive any treatment? I know you mentioned.
Yeah, I've been seeing a therapist.
Okay.
I was on medication for a while, but it wasn't suiting me well.
Okay.
So I'm off of that and just Um, I still see a therapist. I was hospitalized twice.
Okay.
I had very bad panic attacks.
And this was after your daughter's
Yeah,
birth?
yeah.
Okay.
I think my hormones were contributing to it, and um,
Maybe postpartum? Were you diagnosed with postpartum?
not officially.
Okay. Okay. Would you be okay with a psych evaluation? And the reason I ask is that Jack and his attorney are going to use anything that they can if it goes down this avenue. And we're hoping it doesn't, but for us to have all of our, for lack of a better term, ducks in a row, we want to make sure that we have the most amount of information to show that you are, getting treatment, you've gotten treatment, that you are fit, and that you are stable. Because he's going to try to say that you're not, which, to be honest, it doesn't seem that you're unstable. You look like you are self-aware, you've gotten the treatment, and that's what we're going to say in court if we have to do that.
So will that? What if the eval can that be used against me to not have custody of my children?
We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. That's what our goal is. We don't even know if that's going to go down in court, but we just want to be prepared, because we're not sure what he's going to be spinning. And we can never be too safe that he's not going to come in and use your hospitalization against you. So I would recommend a psych evaluation, but only if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, we can
think about it.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. We can discuss that at a later time. I understand this is a lot to take in, but we can go through all that though. Towards the end, I'll tell you really what avenues can be taken, but really we just want to make sure that we're getting all the info that we can from any kind of source. That's where the psych evaluation, why we would ask for that. So you mentioned that before you got pregnant with your daughter, you and Jack had a plan for your family. You mentioned that. I know at our initial interview, you talked about a plan, like a family plan that you had. Was it involving him going to grad school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he was going to go to grad school, and I was going to get my paralegal certificate.
Okay.
And maybe college.
Because it seems like he's claiming that that you guys had agreed upon no more children. Did that happen?
It wasn't something set in stone. I knew he didn't want any more, and
okay.
I always wanted another, but I didn't push it.
Okay.
And I was a high risk. I wasn't expecting to get pregnant.
Right.
It just happened, and what am I gonna?
Right. So why would he believe all this? Where did he come up with all that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think he's not happy with how his life turned out, and now he wants to make some changes.
Okay. So, do you feel that the depression that you experienced after the birth of your daughter, impacted your family at all?
I mean, I'm sure it did.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
I always put my family first. I was there for every practice. Every game. I made dinner every night. I tried. Listen, I tried.
Right.
I saw there.
You're trying, is what you're saying. And that's fine. I mean, listen, no parent is perfect.
I know. I'm sure I was withdrawn, distant. And in all honesty, Jack didn't really seem too interested in digging.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, can you tell me a little bit about these? He's going to be making allegations about you, saying that I know we just discussed that he could potentially be doing this with your depression, saying that you're unfit. If he does go down this avenue, why do you think do you think he would say that, or?
I don't know anymore.
Okay. He may. Has he said anything to you like that before?
That I'm unfit?
Yeah, claimed any of that?
No.
Have you guys talked about your depression openly?
I tried talking to him about it, but
Okay.
didn't really listen.
Okay. Okay.
It seemed more of an inconvenience for him.
Okay. So I mentioned a psych evaluation. I don't mean to bring it up again because I understand you want to think about it, but I meant to actually ask you as well if his attorney, if they do go down that avenue, they might necessitate an evaluation for you.
I see.
Okay. So I just want you to be prepared for that. I failed to mention that the first time.
What are the chances that they will do that?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure they haven't filed anything yet. So I'm not sure really what avenue they're going to be taking, what their complaint is. Would you be open for that? Or would you?
Well, if they necessitate it, won't I have to comply?
You would.
So if that's the case, I'd like to beat them to the punch.
Okay. Okay. And you can take another moment to think about that if you'd like. Because I know you were a little hesitant and I just want to make sure you're fully comfortable with everything.
Listen, I know that I have anxiety and depression.
Right.
But, I'm not some hot-headed person not in their right mind. I just don't want the psychologist, psychiatrist to, I don't want them to spin anything around.
Okay. So, all right, I understand. So let's talk about your children. Sorry, our office dog. Our paralegal likes to bring her dog in.
Oh, she's sweet.
Yeah, she's very sweet. We'll tell our paralegal, hi, love. All right, so let's talk about your children, your 3 children, Fetch, Paul, and Crown. I believe you mentioned during our initial interview. Do they know what's happening between you and Jack?
I think Crown is too young, but the boys definitely. No, we haven't spoken about it openly, but kids, they're pretty intuitive.
Okay. And your oldest, you think, is getting an indication of there might be something going on?
Yeah.
Attention. Okay. Can you explain the relationship that you have with your children?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great relationship. I'm home all the time, so I'm there, drop them off the bus, pick them up, make them dinner. We talk after school. We spend a lot of time together.
Okay. You'd say that you're their primary caretaker.
Of course.
Yeah. Can you explain the relationship that Jack has with your children?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great father. He is. But he's definitely not as present as I am.
Okay.
Definitely not with our daughter. He's great with the boys. They play football on Sundays and catch, but I just wish he didn't blame Crown, for me getting pregnant.
Blame Crown?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain?
He doesn't outright say it, but, I think he resents her because of the fact that I got pregnant with her.
Okay. So he has a difficult relationship, you would say, with Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has he bonded with her at all?
Yeah, he'll take her horseback riding on occasion. She really likes that. And they have their moments, but otherwise, he's very withdrawn.
From Crown. Okay. Would you say that the relationship that he has with your daughter puts a strain on your marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think that maybe Jack has some sort of a psychological problem as to why he can't connect with your daughter?
I don't. I wish I could say that I don't think he has a psychological problem. I think he's just angry, upset, resentful.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Do you think Jack has a substance abuse problem?
I, I don't think so. I mean, he has, you know, glass of whiskey, dinner when we're on the weekends or something, sometimes after a long day, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Okay. Would you be comfortable with maybe having a psych evaluation for him?
sure, I don't care.
You don't care. Okay. Um, do you want to take a break or anything, or are you okay? Do you want to keep going?
No, let's keep going.
Okay. Um, all right. So, what is the current status of your marriage? What's going on between you guys right now?
Well, up until about, a couple weeks ago, we were seeing a counselor.
Okay.
I want to continue seeing the counselor, try and work things out, but
Okay.
he thinks it's a waste of time and money.
Okay. Um, do you see that your marital issues are getting worse or better, or are they just staying the same as when you
They're
first came in?
stagnant, but he doesn't want to work on them. So I do,
Okay.
but can't be one person putting in all the effort.
Right. I understand. So when you initially came in, from what I'm gathering right now, is that you do not want a divorce. Has this changed?
I mean, ultimately I don't, but if he's proceeding, what choice do I have?
I understand. Well, there are some choices. We can go through those, towards in a little bit. So I wanted to ask you, what do you expect from your marriage right now, in general? What do you expect? I mean, from your relationship, what do you?
What can I expect?
Okay.
I don't know. What do you mean?
What I mean is, what would you like for Jack to do in order to fix things? If you feel that they're fixable.
Try and see a counselor again. I mean, I want to know that he wants to stay. It doesn't seem that he does.
Okay. Okay. Um, and what do you think that Jack wants? Like, what does he expect from your marriage?
For it to be over.
He wants it to be over. What did he expect the entire time? Like before all of this went down?
I'm really not sure.
Did he want you to be, the primary caretaker of your children, or did he want you to do more? I mean, what did he expect?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think he liked me being the caretaker, and
he did. Okay.
I guess he expected to get further along in his degree.
Okay. So you mentioned that he had a feeling of feeling trapped in your marriage. Do you feel that this is fair?
No.
No. And why?
Well, he said that he married me after I got pregnant because he thought it was the right thing to do. And it was, but, we've lived together for 10 years since then. I mean, things were working. We were in 2 different marriages, or things just changed for him.
So Jack is wanting out of this marriage. He's wanting out.
Yeah.
From what I'm gathering. Do you feel that what he has expected from you has been reasonable? Do you think that, him wanting out is reasonable?
It's not, but what am I going to force him to stay?
I understand. So I know you mentioned that you started going to counseling. Usually this is what I would recommend for a client such as yourself that doesn't want a divorce, their husband wants a divorce. Do you think that you could give counseling another go? Do you think Jack would go for that?
I would. I don't know if he would. The last time we talked about it, he said he didn't.
Okay. Because really there's 2 types of counseling that can go down at this point. We could put you back into marriage counseling. if Jack would, of course, agree to attend. That'll help you work through, your marital issues and maybe bridge this gap that's going on. But there's also another type of counseling, and that's the counseling to help you get through a divorce and a custody process. So whatever avenue you decide to go with, obviously, it's your choice. If you even want to do counseling, I mean, that's all up to you. Is this something that you'd be interested in doing, maybe giving it another go? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you do talk to Jack and he decides to go to counseling again, just keep us updated about that, and about how we can give you a list of some marital counselors if you're interested in pursuing this avenue. But I want to lay out all the options and really all the avenues that can be taken, because he could very well, and you seem to understand this. You're very self-aware in this whole process, which is great. He could say that he doesn't want to do counseling, and that you've mentioned that. He could say, like, listen, I want a divorce. Are you willing to go through that?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So each divorce is, each divorce is very unique, and it's a step-by-step basis, but each of them is case-by-case basis. And that's why, of course, we're having this, and we're, getting all the details from you. I know it's not the easiest thing to sit down and like really talk about your entire marriage and where things went wrong. But it's helping us, honestly, it's helping us help you. And in helping us help you, we have a couple avenues that we can take, So, of course, we can take the counseling route.
Okay.
Maybe that'll work out. Maybe he'll agree to it. You guys won't go through a divorce.
Okay.
But if he says we need to do this divorce, there are two types of divorces really that can happen.
Okay.
And whatever the type, we go with, or whatever is filed, really will depend on the process that we go through, and really the reasoning for the divorces will depict what type of divorce we are going with. Mm-hmm. The first one is a fault divorce, which I'm most concerned about that. And I'm not sure what Jack is going to do, and what if he files for which one, or if he even files for one, you know what I mean? But the fault divorce is pretty much when one spouse is alleging that the other spouse is to blame for the need for this divorce. And some grounds are just, I'll list them. And if you have any questions about these specific grounds, I'll list them word for word for what, it'll be like if someone had, committed adultery, or there was bigamy, or cruel treatment or endangerment of the life or health of the other spouse. The reason I get concerned about this one is that he could take the avenue of saying that your mental health issues are what makes you at fault. So so that's why we want to be prepared if he goes down this avenue. And if, if the fault divorce is what avenue is taken, there would be one spouse would be filing the complaint. The other spouse would be the defendant. And at this point, then we would go to trial and talk about splitting your assets and child custody and alimony. And I'm sure this is all, I hope, not overwhelming, but we will absolutely go through this more in detail with you. But
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be aware of whatever avenues we have. However, there is another type of divorce, and this is the no-fault divorce. And this is when both parties agree to get divorced simply because, the marriage has fallen apart. Both of them are like, they don't want to show, there's no fault to be shown. They just simply both do not want to be married anymore.
Seems to be the one fitting that situation. And that's
hopefully, I would recommend to go to the no fault, because I just don't want it to get sticky, and there's grounds for it to get sticky. But, usually there would be a mutual consent they would mutually, like two partners would mutually agree to go down that avenue. So do you have any questions? No. Once the divorce avenue is taken, there is a process, and we of course will walk you through every part of the process slowly and carefully. Everything will be we'll do it together. You know, our team will help you out with this. But first, there would be, you know, we would have to have, you know, file that divorce complaint, and then we would accept the service, and then we would have final forms. And we're looking at, you know, if it's not sticky, it should be a very like, you know, we file the complaint 1 week, you know, we hear about, you know, the acceptance of the service, and then your final forms, and these are filed, you know, after a 90-day wait period. It's all very standard. So where things can, I think, and I already mentioned with the fault and the no fault, is where it would all depend on what the spouses want. You know, do they want the same thing? Do they not? And right now it's seeming like you guys don't want the same thing, but after more maybe of a conversation with Jack, maybe he would want counseling and not to get a divorce. But if, you know, both spouses agree to a divorce, then, you know, we would file that complaint and move forward. If the spouses, both spouses want different things, it would be a little bit of a different process. But moving forward, we would need more documentation from you as you know, as we move forward with this process. And I know you brought some in today, but we certainly will need some more. And I'm going to send you up a follow-up letter with really just specifically what other documents we need from you, just to keep, you know, building our file. But one thing I wanted to discuss with you today is witnesses. You know, we want witnesses to establish your character, your parenting style, your abilities as a mother, even to speak on your relationship with Jack.
Okay.
Do any come to mind that you could potentially ask?
Of course. Friends are okay?
Yeah.
You know, maybe teachers or of my children and
Okay.
neighbors.
Okay, yeah. And you have like a close relationship with these people that they would?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we would have you, you know, compile that list for us and send it over to us. Again, we'll remind you about all this in the follow-up letter. I know this is like a lot to take in. Other documents that we would need would be like balance statements of assets and liabilities, you know, appraisals for businesses that are owned, if you guys do own any, other related marital documents. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll go through that again, like the documents that are needed, but really I'll send you that letter and it'll, you know, run through everything. And of course, if you have any questions about what the documents that you would need and maybe who would be a good witness, you have my contact information. If you need again, my secretary will get that for you, but you just call me up, email me, and we can go through a witness or a document that you're having concerns with, of course. So once the divorce is final, we would start thinking about issues surrounding custody and your assets and finances. So you mentioned that you have a home. Okay. So according to what you told me, I do believe that your home would be considered marital property, and I'll explain why. So marital property is property that the couple acquired during the marriage. You know, all of this property that is considered marital property would be divided. So your home, how do you guys own this home?
Together.
Did you buy it together?
Yes.
Okay. Both, you guys bought it together with combined money, or?
I mean, it was my money, but.
It was your money?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it just your name that's on the deed, or?
No, both of them.
Both your names are on the deed. Okay. Um, so what I'm gathering is that the money that you gave from your annuity you mentioned earlier, that would be a gift that you made to the marriage. The home that you guys purchased is marital property since you acquired it during your marriage, and therefore that would be you'd have to split that. Um, we would go through really, how that would be split, and of course it's always at the discretion of the judge if we do, if however things go down. Um, would you be willing to move out?
No.
You don't want to move out.
No.
You want the home.
Yes.
Okay. We will try what we can to figure out how to make sure that goal happens for you. So is there any other property that you guys own?
No.
That you acquired during your marriage?
Real estate wise? No.
What about cars?
Well, Jack has a lease.
Okay.
And mine we leased but ended up purchasing, so we own.
Okay. Okay. And there's nothing else you can think of, like
No.
a vacation home or anything?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
I want to backtrack to your children again,
Sure.
your 3 children. So you said you're the primary caretaker of them.
I am.
Of course, in divorce, custody issues would come up. And, the laws are made to ensure that both parents have shared time with their children as equitably as possible. So, of course, there would be the child support, which would come in. And that's just, do you know what child support is? Or
I do.
You do. Okay. So that's just the judge would determine what is best, what amount is best, and he would weigh in factors like, what parent is working, each spouse's income, the ages of the children, any unusual financial needs of each spouse, extraordinary medical costs of children. I mean, all these, there's a list of things really that the judge is going to be looking at, factors that would determine child support, the number. Extraordinary expenses, and that's things like SAT prep, which your kids are young, so you don't have to worry about that just yet. But, summer camp fees or really like a private school tuition, that is not usually included in the child support. But that is going to be an extra conversation that we could have. Then there's alimony. Alimony is spousal support. A lot of other factors are going to be determined, weighing if that's, how the alimony will be, distributed and really what the amount is, if there is an alimony to be given. I just want you to start thinking about that. These are things that we don't have to, really, start thinking about it. The children and the alimony. Other things I want you to start thinking about, and I'm going to pause now. Do you have any questions about anything that I just laid out? I know
Not yet, no.
It's a lot. And I know the letter that I'm sending out to you after this will list all this again, just so you have it with you and can refer to. Other things I want you to start thinking about. Did you and Jack ever make a will?
No.
You don't have a will?
No.
Okay. Okay. So if you did, that would be a different discussion. And I want you to stay on top of your finances, which, Jill, you've been doing a great job with too. I mean, you've brought in all your financial statements.
I have. The one thing is that,
Yes.
The $77,000 that Jack brings in from teaching at the junior high school, and then the $3,000 from the college.
Okay.
That's in them, but I don't know if the $8,000 is in those statements. We don't report it. He makes some money with odd jobs and usually just takes care of the taxes. So I just want you to know that.
Okay. Okay. So you don't have like a documentation of any of that, do you?
No.
Okay. No receipts, no agreements.
Jack
nothing.
would have them, not me.
Okay. Okay. So what I would recommend, and this is of course you can, whatever option you want to take, just to stay on top of all your finances and really just keep track of everything, which you've been doing a good job of as it is. Financial advisors are great for that, especially during divorces. We do recommend them to our clients. It is your choice to take that option or not. So that's just something to think about. Um, so everything that we discussed today, all the information that you gave me, all the avenues that I listed for you, I'll be sending up a follow-up letter to you, like I just mentioned, really recapping what we talked about, talking about these legal avenues, just so you have these options in front of you so you could like look at. And, if you have any follow-up questions you might not be able to think of right now, absolutely, would you be able to call me once you get that letter? And really, it's just going to lay out our next steps, what we need from you in terms of documentation, the witness list, and really our next steps that we'll be taking in terms of counseling or divorce or really whatever it is. We do also have a divorce. We realized that we didn't, during our initial interview, we have this form that we usually have, this packet that we have our clients fill out. We need you to fill that out as well. That's just breaking down, your assets and just your basic, contact information of you, your husband, information about your children. My secretary has that up front for you, along with all the documents, the original copies of the documents that you brought in today. We copied those during this conversation. My secretary, like I told you, she was able to copy those, and she has all those up front for you with that little packet of info that you need to fill out and bring into our office. Yeah. Do you have any questions or concerns at this time?
No.
Anything else?
No. I appreciate you meeting with me.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And of course, if you have any, questions, you want to talk about anything, you have my contact information. Call, email, whatever's best, and I'll get back to you within a timely frame.
Thank you, Abigail.
Of course, Jill. It was great seeing you again. It was great seeing you. Thank you so much for your cooperation. I'll walk you out.